Hello Booktube, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Marilyn, and today I have a special video for you. Well, in 2 weeks I turn 75, and I also make 5 years to the day on Booktube. So for these two sort of accomplishments, I wanted to do a special video. Now, it's also been a tough year for me, as some of you know, and I wanted to do a comfort book haul. So where did I go for comfort? I went to the library. Now let me tell you a little bit about my library. It's a rural library in Waianae, Hawaii, which is as west as you can get on Oahu. And it opened in 1966. I wasn't there then, I was still in New York City, but when I came here, when I moved here in 1980, it became my home away from home. I got to know all the librarians. Some of them are gone. Some of them came during the time between 1980 and the present, and I got to know so many wonderful people. And not only did they comfort me when I needed someone to talk to, someone to recommend a book for me, but they also became friends. And when I wrote my own book, they supported me in so many ways. They were hosting where little gatherings where I could talk about my book and talk about and maybe perform some of my poetry when I was doing poetry slams, etc. They became like a family. So I thought I would go back there, because now usually when I want to order books, I do it on the internet. My daughter works right near another library, a bigger one, and she brings them home for me. So they were so happy when I came. It was like a little family reunion, and I met new people. I saw older people. They wanted to know where I had been, I guess if I was still here. And I wanted to pick books out from that particular library, no other place, and see what I can get that was comforting. And I sure did. And I was also surprised at some of the books I got, because some of them are new releases and all of them are comforting. So let's get started with the book haul. Now, the first book is a new release. And when I saw it, I said, this book is for me. And it's called Eat Better, Sleep Better by Dr. Marie-Pierre St. Onge, PhD, and Kat Craddock. And it's a beautiful cover. And what it's about is what you eat directly impacts how you sleep. Now, I've had some sleep issues like all my life, and I thought this would be a wonderful book for me to read, especially if I read the back. It said, "Poor sleep is awful for our mental health, but what can we do?" Well, from what I've read so far, we can do a lot. And it says that more than half of all Americans have difficulty falling or staying asleep. A diet of delicious food with sleep-supporting ingredients is the answer to better rest and the physical and mental health that came with it. And this was written in 2025, and I found it in my small rural library. Now, the beginning of it, from what I gather, talks about the new medical studies about sleep and health, which is quite substantial, that I've read before. And let me just tell you, this is not a vegetarian cookbook, but it can be. When I mean cookbook, I mean it does have recipes. So let me just show you two photos. And a lot of these foods, now these are legumes, and it's just beautifully, just want to see if I can get it all in. All these legumes that help with sleep, some of which I was brought up on a rice and beans sort of diet, along with a lot of meat, by the way. But some of these are chickpeas, black beans, cannellini beans, which I've just started using recently, lentils, pinto beans. But then on the other page, we have some, if you're not a vegetarian, some foods that help with sleep that are more meat related. And I think they go into the book that small amounts of these, like 3 ounces of chicken, salmon, shrimp I don't eat, but and I think this is lamb chops, which I was brought up on, but I don't eat. But it's a beautifully photographed book, as well as I think it's going to be a lot of information. There's a lot of photos. There's salads. There's a lot. There's breakfast, lunch, dinner. I'm really excited about reading this book. So let's get to the next book. Now, when we talk about comfort, what do we think about? We think about a lot of different kinds of books. But since I joined BookTube, thanks to my good friend Gina Stanier, in fact, she introduced me to Miss Read and the Fairacre series. And I was able to find this book in my local library. You can see right here. And I was attracted to this book for a lot of reasons. One is I already have books on my shelf, and this one is Tales from a Village School. And I actually have a book that Gina sent me that wasn't a Fairacre book, but another village in the series called Thrush Green, which I'm not going to talk about today, but I will talk about what attracted me to this particular. This was the only Miss Read book in my particular library. But when I saw an older lady, and what I assume is Miss Read, and she was helping her, I was attracted to this book, as I am turning 75, and wanted to see what was it all about. So this was written in '92. And I should mention that I think Thrush Green series was written later, but let me just check. So Thrush Green was written in 1959, so I'm wrong. So Thrush Green was written first. It was this one, Tales from a Village School, which was, I think, a book that I got from a library sale that was written later on. And this is written in 1995. But yeah, I'm not sure. So first, Miss Read's first novel, Village School, was published in '55, beginning her hugely popular series of novels about the downland village of Fairacre. And she's actually Mrs. Doris Saint, and who was a teacher, I'm assuming. But I'm not sure if she's still alive or not. But let me go back to what I was saying, that this Fairacre is changing. Even though this downland village and Miss Read School may still look as though 100 years, as it did 100 years ago, the old cottages where the community once lived are being brought by outsiders, and the new commuter lifestyle has taken children to other schools. So Miss Read fears the school may close, but she's even more concerned about her longtime friend Dolly Clare. But Amy, Miss Read's old college friend, gives support, and life is always stimulated by all these characters that are, if you're familiar with Miss Read, are populated in her books. And so Miss Read's many fans will be delighted to meet again the familiar and endearing characters who inhabit the village. So yeah, I want to read this for comfort. This is definitely a comfort read. And I kept on looking for these types of books while I was browsing in the library, and I found this delightful book, not a new release, but Who Can Resist Awkward Family Pet Photos by Mike Bender and Doug Chernak. And look at this awkward family photo. I mean, if you want to feel good, animals, for me, they do it. And I just picked a few photos to show you that made me laugh. And one was, when you have a pile named after you, you expect to be on the top. So this is called Dog Pile. And it's a family. And if you look closely, there's a dog. I mean, how sweet is that? I mean, I just can't. Now, for you cat lovers, and my daughter and I, up to a point, I'm more of a dog lover, but we are. And this is a reminder that cuddling is a privilege, not a right. And yeah, if you're going to do this with a cat, you better, his claws are out. His or her claws are out. So that is an awkward family photo for sure. And it's not only cats and dogs. I mean, we're going to go into a lot of other animals here. For one, it's birds. And here's birds of a feather. So I think I'm going to enjoy looking at these I mean, we have horses, we have reptiles. I mean, this is a wonderful book, and I'm looking forward to browsing through these pages, or I should say perusing through these pages. But I just saw the eyes of the dog, and he is not a happy camper for being held this way. So yeah. On the subject of dogs, I have another book for you, and it's a memoir. And this was written in 2020, and it's called Good Boy, My Life in 7 Dogs, a memoir by Jennifer Finney Boylan. And here's the cover. There's a theme here, right? But since this is a memoir, so this is from the best-selling author of She's Not There, A Life in 2 Genders. And human rights activist Jennifer Finney Boylan comes Good Boy, My Life in 7 Dogs, a memoir of the transformative power of loving dogs. So Good Boy is a universal account of a remarkable story showing how a young boy became a middle-aged woman, accompanied at 7 crucial moments of growth and transformation by 7 memorable dogs. Everything I know about love, she said, I learned from dogs. And so this has a lot that I wasn't expecting when I took it. I knew it was a memoir, but this is like, we're going into more of a social commentary as well as a memoir. So yeah, I'm here for it. I'm kind of iffy about memoirs in general. I know from personal experience how hard it is to write one, but I think I'm in good hands with this author. I just have a feeling about it. Speaking of being in good hands with an author, I read, this is a reread for me, and I'm almost very excited to reread it. And it is James Herriot's All Creatures Great and Small, the warm and joyful memoirs of the world's most beloved animal doctor, which is also a memoir. And this is the new Masterpiece Theater that is on our public television. And he plays James Herriot. And if anybody hasn't watched it yet, it is so worthwhile. I'm waiting for the new season. I just love it. They go from, I'm not sure, from the time he came until now we're in the 40s, I think. It's after the war or during the war. And so, but what is the book that started it all is a masterpiece. So it should be on Masterpiece Theater. And it says, now this is the production sort of blurb for the movie. And it says, delve into the magical, unforgettable world of James Herriot, the world's most beloved veterinarian, and his menagerie of heartwarming, funny, and tragic animal patients. So it's almost like this is written talking about the past. It says, for decades, Herriot roamed the remote, beautiful Yorkshire dales, treating every patient that came his way, from smallest to largest, and observing animals and humans alike with his keen, loving eye. So I think there were 4 books. And in All Creatures Great and Small, we meet the young Herriot as he takes up his calling and discovers that the realities of veterinary practice in rural Yorkshire are very different from the sterile setting of veterinary school. And it says for 50 years, and I'm thinking I must have read it almost 50 years ago, maybe not, maybe 40 years ago. Generations of readers have flocked to Herriot's marvelous tales, deep tales of love, and extraordinary storytelling abilities. So it says his memoirs, as we know, have sold millions of copies. People have told me this is the best of the 4. And I remember loving this book. I remember it being very comforting to me. And so the name of this book comes from, I thought it came from the Bible, actually, but it came from Cecil Francis Alexander, 1818, 1895. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the Lord God made them all. And if I'm not mistaken, he wrote 4 books with those titles. And I remember laughing and feeling, it's just like a Jane Austen book. You just go into that world and you just feel so comforted and so wonderful. So let me know, have you read all 4 books? Let me know in the comments and say hi anyway. Yeah, which was your favorite? Was this your favorite? Have you watched any of, there were more than one series that I've watched on what we call PBS. But tell me, have you seen this one with this actor? If you have, let me know. If you love it as much as I do, let me know. Anyway, so that's enough for this book, but I definitely am looking forward to rereading this book. Now, I'm going to get to mysteries. And this is kind of a funny story because it's a new release. And I read Stuart Woods, was a mystery writer that I used to read back in the day, probably the 80s. So when I saw this new release, 2025, it's called Finders Keepers, a Stone Barrington novel. Let me know if you know Stuart Woods. But this is not written by Stuart Woods because, as I found out, now I'm pretty sure this is the author who's taking up the series. His name is Brett Battles. And in the New York Times bestselling author of more than 40 novels, including the Jonathan Quinn, Rewinder, Project Eden, and Nightman Chronicles series. He is a 3-time Barry Award nominee, winning for Best Thriller in 2009 for his novel The Deceived, which I haven't read. But Stuart Woods, who I have read, was the author of more than 90 novels, including the #1 New York Times best-selling Stone Barrington series. And he passed away in 2022. So I didn't know this. So what is this book about, besides being written in 2025? So in his latest thrilling adventure, Stone Barrington is caught in the lethal crossfire between a dear friend and a secret enemy from his past. After attending an Arlington Properties meeting at the group's newest location, it's not Arlington, it's Arrington Vineyard on Martha's Vineyard, Stone Barrington returns to New York City to catch up with his old friend Jack Coulter. Over lunch, Jack requests Stone's help in settling his niece Sarah into city life post-divorce. Always want to please, Stone takes Sarah under his wing, but when various men from Sarah's past start getting hurt and Jack's loved ones find themselves to be targets in a deadly scheme, it's up to Stone to put the pieces together. Now, I don't remember if I read the series. I probably did, or I probably read one of his, I'm talking about Stuart Woods. I've never read Brett Battles, but I've read Stuart Woods, and I'm not sure, I don't remember if I read this particular series, but this premise sounds like something that I would enjoy. So let me know, have you read either Stuart Woods or Brett Battles? Or how do you feel about another author taking on another author's series when they pass away? I know that this has happened often, especially in mysteries. So let me know, is this a book that you'd be interested in? Or have you read it already? Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing, because Stuart Woods was a good author. He was, when I went to the mystery bookshop in New York City, he was one of the authors that I took out. Now the other one was sort of, I just picked it because I know that J.D. Robb is a pseudonym for Nora Roberts. And I just took out a bunch of J.D. Robb books that my library had. And this one is called Abandoned in Death. And it was written in 2022. So homicide detective Eve Dallas must untangle a twisted family history while a hostage's life hangs in the balance. From in the new In Death novel by New York Times best-selling author J.D. Robb. And I was attracted to this book rather than the others because it had a good premise, or I should say a mysterious premise. The woman's body was found in the early morning on a bench in a New York City playground. She was clean, her hair neatly arranged, her makeup carefully applied, but other things were very wrong, like the tattoo and piercings, clearly new. Since I'm from New York and I've sat on many a park bench, thankfully I didn't get hurt on those park benches, but yeah, I'm here for this. I don't know if it's going to be a good mystery or not, but I definitely will let you know. So, what else did I pick up? The last two books were, I sort of bought them. I sort of took them out on a whim. The first one is, and I'm sure you've heard of it before, it's called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, an Inquiry into Values by Robert M. Pirsig. And I read a little bit of, I've heard this, like if you go on Reddit, for example, for anything, and you look up something like mental health, books about mental health, they always mention this. And I'm thinking, I thought to myself, what do I have in common with motorcycles? But of course, it's not about motorcycles. It's more about Zen Buddhism, I think. And it was written in my time in 1974. And this is a reprint, 1999, and it says an inquiry into values. So the premise of this book is that Robert Pirsig takes his son on a motorcycle and they go around the country from Minnesota, which was interesting to me because I lived in Minnesota, and he worked at Honeywell, which is a big Fortune 500 company that you probably heard of, and I worked there as a temp, not in 74 though, we're talking more the 90s. So it's a narration of a summer motorcycle trip across America's Northwest undertaken by a father and his young son, a story of love and fear, of growth, discovery, and acceptance that becomes a profound personal and philosophical odyssey into life's fundamental questions. Baltimore Sunset is filled with beauty, a finely made whole that seems to emanate from a very special grace. And strange and wonderful, it meditates on those grand philosophical problems that were first addressed in this country by the likes of Thoreau and Melville. Now, I only read one Thoreau, so I'm thinking this is going to be deep, and I'm not sure if I'm ready for it, if I'm ready for it right now. But if you read it, I'm sure you've heard of it, but if you've read it, let me know if I should really get into this, if this would be for me, if you think so. And the last book is just something from Michael Shur, who's the creator of The Good Place and the co-creator of Parks and Recreation. And it's called How to Be Perfect, the Correct Answer to Every Moral Question. And like I said, I picked this up on a whim. I never watched Parks and Recreation. I know it was a very popular TV series. And Shur starts off with easy ethical questions like, should I punch my friend in the face for no reason? No, and works his way up to the most complex moral issues we all face. Can I still enjoy great art if it was created by terrible people? And when I read that, I thought, this is something that's very, very now and talked about on Booktube a lot. And I'm interested in the answer to that. I don't think we can be perfect. I don't know if I want to be perfect, but let me know if you've read this book or if you've watched Parks and Recreation. It sounds like it's a fun read, and yeah, I hope that you can let me know if I should keep this, because I don't promise to read all these books. I'm not a person who reads a lot of books a month like some booktubers. I just wanted to make a mention of a book that I did finish this week, and it's called Rewrites by Neil Simon. And I want to give a shout out also to Angelia, who I think is still doing endless drama. Neil Simon is my favorite playwright of the century. He wrote about 100 plays, and his book Lost in Yonkers won the Pulitzer Prize which I don't think I've seen or read that particular book. But when it said this book is very funny, and I showed it in my last video, it's not very funny. It's funny in parts, but it's more sad than anything else. And what I found out about him is that he suffered from some kind of panic disorder, which he called claustrophobia, which is part of the anxiety disorders. And he went through a lot of tragedy in his life. He didn't come from a happy home. And a lot of why his plays are so resonated with people because of that, because he wrote from a place of pain. And when you write from a place of pain and try to be funny, but it's real, I think that's where, I mean, all of his plays came from either his family or people he knew. So the reason I mention Angelia is because I just went on my website of my library website, not my public library, they didn't even have one book by him, and said, I'm going to read his plays. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do also for comfort, because his plays are so funny. They have pathos in it, but they're really funny. Anyway, I'm going to end here. I don't want to make this video extra long, but I do want to invite you to please like, comment, and please subscribe. My numbers are way down, and I know that it's my fault because I haven't been filming very regularly. I mean, once a week, but still, I invite you to ring that bell so you'll know when I put out a video. And to my friends here, to my subscribers, I thank you so much. These last 5 years have been really filled with so much love, camaraderie, and wonderful books that I never would have known about if I hadn't become a booktuber. So until we meet again, because I plan a few special events on my birthday and to celebrate my 5 years on BookTube. So as always, keep well, keep safe, and always aloha.